We have unlocked all of Southpaw Deep Space 9 Season 5. Season 6 will be available exclusively on Patreon or Substack. This is Southpaw Deep Space 9 Season 5. We are your hosts, Scott and Sam. On this stardate, June 29, 2025, we are discussing Soldiers of the Empire. Scott, please tell us about this episode.
Bashir treats Martok in the sickbay, and he's been showing up in the sickbay infirmary a lot because he was arrested by the Dominion. He was in a Dominion prison for 2 years. He's back now. He's been sent by the Klingons to be like one of the generals at Deep Space Nine. And he's supposedly been going really hard in the holosuite doing action simulations and is very appreciative of Bashir, but Bashir is annoyed about how bloody the infirmary is getting. And is just like, take care of yourself, Unk, as the kids would say. Worf and Nog are doing science and they're trying to fix some stuff, but neither of them are that good at computers. Nog goes to get some new files and Martok shows up and cancels a meeting that they're supposed to have because Martok has to go on a journey. And then we realize that Martok has not been LARPing in the cyber holographic cafe every night. He's been fighting with Worf, doing light and hard sparring because he doesn't want a simulation. He wants to feel it. He wants to get his muscles back, even though he's still, I don't know. I think you might say he's been traumatized from being a prisoner of war for a couple of years, because that just might be something that traumatizes people. And he's like, I gotta go because we're going on a journey. Martok tells Worf that the Klingon government, the High Council, has given him basically his first mission post-freedom to be commander of the Rataran and go find another vessel. And he offers Worf, son of Moog, to be his most excellent first man, which of course Worf agrees to. Ben and Worf are talking to talk about whether Ben will approve of this. And Ben is curious as to why Worf would want to do something like this. And Worf explains that him and Martok had Tovadok, a wordless understanding, when they were in the Dominion prison where Worf had to fight every day. And one day Worf decided that he was going to let the Jem'Hadar kill him because he was tired of fighting. And he saw Martok and they had this moment. They had this wordless understanding. The Klingons often talk about words that English don't have because their language, their syntax is so related to feelings and understandings that we don't always think about. So, Tovadok, they had that. And he feels like he owes something to Martok because of that. And Ben's like, yeah, go ahead, dude. As they're talking, like Kira gives all the list of Worf's stuff to Bashir Miles, and they're all like, damn, that's a lot of stuff. And Odo starts walking around just like racially profiling Klingons. One of them has like a Cardassian bone necklace. And Jadzia explains that they are not a monolith and that maybe they can give Ferengi the same generosity that they're giving Klingons. Basically, there's some very interesting racist and racial overtones and undertones that we're going to continue to look at as the show starts amping up in season 5. So Worf, that like cool sort of thing he wears on his suit, the Baljuk, he decides to skip that on the Rotaran, because since there is no House of Moog, there's no point representing the House of Moog, and this ship has not been doing well. They just keep on beaten up by the Jem'Hadar. They have not had a success. But Worf and Jadzia find time to flirt and figure out how they're going to say goodbye. But Jadzia decides she's not going to say goodbye. She's going to tag along. She has a bunch of time off. She has some PTO. She's going to take it. There's no glory in this mission, but at least they'll be together, and at least it's cute. Jadzia and another officer flirt and intimate that Curzon maybe did sex with her mother. I mean, Curzon, he was adventurous, and he was very involved in the Klingon community. And so it makes sense that Curzon would, follow carnal pleasures in the Klingon culture, because that's what we learn about Curzon, is that he had a hedonic piece to him. Worf receives the battle records of the crew and gives that to Martok and accepts their lives with the ritual. There's this ritual when Klingons go on a ship, they receive the records and they give their lives to the captain, and the captain is in control, and only the second in command, first in command, whatever it is, can challenge them if they ever were. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of hierarchy. It's controlled chaos. They leave for the destination, and as they look, every time they get to something, Martok tries to avoid conflict. And this brings ire, because that is not often on the agenda of of how Klingon battleships do work. It's not going well. Every time, like, morale could be built, it is not. On the ship, Jadzia asserts dominance and takes her seat back for lunch. There is not a lot of food. There hasn't been blood wine, which is the drink of choice for Klingons. They haven't had months, but Jadzia is like, I brought a bunch of barrels. Let's get drunk. And they did. Just kidding. They did. Back in the ship, the crew is getting drunk, and they're talking about their losses, and they're doing it in a poetic way, how this is a prideless ship. And while there is folly, there is laughter, this other shipmate gets very serious and is like, the ship is cursed. And whenever someone says the ship is cursed, I have a belief that the ship is cursed. So, and then they sense the Jem'Hadar ship is coming, and Jadzia is just worried that they're effed, because Martok's like, I don't know why this Jem'Hadar ship is so far away from the Dominion. We shouldn't attack. And with each of these moments, morale lowers. Jadzia points to Worf. This is not how Klingons do things. This could have given the crew a well-needed victory, an easy victory. And if more, just like, when MMA fighters like fight an Uber driver to get back on their record. If Martok, not to say there's anything wrong with Uber drivers, if Martok doesn't do some Klingon-ish, there could be a mutiny. Martok and Worf argue about what should have happened, and again, Martok is coming to be very risk averse. Again, I think he has some trauma. The crew's drinking when Liskit starts sounding off, says, at least the Cardassians were full of grit, but the Jem'Hadar, they have no soul. There's no honor. They are built to kill. They are literally genetically created. In fact, I think we realized a few episodes ago, they're basically like children. They're children breeded to kill, and that they're created just for efficiency, and are noting that Martok's calls are not good. They're out of fear. Cornan loses it, goes after him, and nearly takes out Orticon when he jumps in. Jadzia comes in, stuns a bunch of people to shut it down, gets a little bloody. Worf runs into Jadzia and sees that she's got some blood. And she tells him what's going on and points out, yet again, we got to do something for morale. Martok is rattled because there is another distress call that comes in from the Mammoth, the ship that they're trying to get. The Jem'Hadar have attacked. There have been a lot of losses. It is not looking good. And the crew just wants to go and fight. Blast and fight. They don't care if they die. They just need to do something. But Martok keeps on saying no. Keeps on blaming Jem'Hadar being meaningless monsters and not wanting to fight. Maybe the ship is cursed. No, but really, like, what's going on? And they see that the ship that they're looking for is actually into Cardassian space. So they're about to go again. And Martok is like, no, we can't cross the border. I've been given orders not to cross the border. I can't do this. I can't do that. Martok's like, no, it's a trap. Refuses to cross. Feels that he is forbidden to go. The crew is begging Martok to let them save their friends, begging Martok to fight. And Martok's like, oh, they're probably dead. And do not question me. To question me is mutiny, and gives Worf the bridge. Worf leaves the very distressed bridge, talks to Jadzia, who's like, dude, what's going on? And Worf finally is like, it's time to challenge Martok for the ship, even though this could mean death. The ship come to Worf and beg him to do something. Worf calls the ship to battle stations to go save the men. Worf tells Martok he is unfit to serve and says Martok is a coward and insists that he take the reins of the ship, and they have a fight. Is it epic, Scott? Oh, hell yeah, it's epic. They have this beautiful battle, and in the battle for the ship and for their souls, Martok's basically has a reawakening, and his soul understands that he has not been living a life that is in line with his values, and sees that he has been wrong. And in that moment, Worf allows Martok to stab him, however, non-fatally. In a few minutes, the Jem'Hadar are coming, but now Martok is ready to fight. Jadzia picks up a wounded Worf, showing her love. They have a very nice relationship. And as they go to tend to his wounds, the war songs are being sung with delight and temerity and understanding. Miles and Bashir are kibitzing on Deep Space Nine when all of a sudden Martok shows up. His ship beat the Jem'Hadar and were able to recon the other ship and save many Klingon souls. And Martok just asks for blood wine. Martok meets with Worf alone and is like, sort of just points out that Worf is a good friend and was right, and his decisions made sense. But then Martok wonders how Worf knew that he wouldn't kill him when he stabbed him. And Worf points out he didn't. And at that point, Martok gives a sort of like medal to put on Worf's metallic thing. That's a badge that makes him the part of the House of Martok. So they are now family. And it's kind of beautiful.
A note to our listeners. If you love the Southpaw Project, please support us and help us get paid for our labor by financially supporting us on Patreon. This will give you access to exclusive bonus content, like transcripts, early releases of Southpaw Deep Space Nine, our fictional narrative podcast, Fighters Brew, break-free versions of our shows without interruptions like you're hearing now, bonus articles, Fighters Brew transcripts with extra content, Liberation Martial Arts Online, as well as our private chat group on Discord. You can find all pertinent links at southpawpod.com. So, as far as my watch of DS9 or even of Next Generation, no episode made Klingons more three-dimensional than this one.
And guess what? They're just going to get more three-dimensional. Ronald D. Moore loves Klingons.
And that's what I mean. I'm not saying ever because I haven't watched all of DS9 yet, but as of where we are on the watch through and in comparison to everything that's come before, this is it. Even just as an episode, this is it. Just as Ferengi love songs used the Ferengi to drive home a message about patriarchy, this episode used Klingons to convey a similar but different message. That as stoic and emotionally invulnerable as Klingons have appeared thus far, they too can have PTSD. They too can have trauma, like you mentioned. They too can be human and frail and even, dare I say, weak. If the last episode was about how toxic masculinity affects women, this episode is about how toxic masculinity affects men. Toxic masculinity, to me, is all about hating weakness, and Klingons embodied that masculinity. Yet here, we see that they too can show weakness, frailty, and vulnerability. Something I've discussed several times is honor code or honor culture and how it can emerge unplanned. We saw that with the Jem'Hadar. With the Klingons, rather than a strict moral code, they instead rely on an honor code, which kind of does the same job as a moral code, which is to stabilize its society. Worf has a deep understanding of it, even more so than Dax, who thinks she's an expert. Worf was able to navigate a dangerous situation by understanding Klingon honor code and acted in a way where Martok is allowed to save face. Worf also returned the favor Martok did for him, which was to ignite his fighting spirit. And also Martok, at the beginning of this episode, right? They've already set it up where he knows how good of a fighter Worf is. They sparred plenty of times and Worf whooped him plenty of times. So because he was allowed to save face, because his fighting spirit was ignited, in return for all that, for Martok, what the honorable thing to do was to invite Worf into his house. This episode is mythological in that these types of stories and messages and codes normally exist in human myths, fables, and stories. And Klingon culture is still very much about myth making. Stories are very important for Klingon culture. That is still true for us in the real world. What's different is Klingons are very much aware of the power of story. We, especially in the Imperial core, think we're beyond that. We don't recognize how stories and narratives affect us. We're even unaware of internal propaganda done to us by the US and its media and its educational system and culture, and even families and communities. And if we are aware of propaganda, we aren't aware of its power, not fully. Klingons get it though. Stories shape reality. Stories shape a culture. But that's still true for us. How can USians deny the harms done by its country and its allies? Listen to the stories they tell themselves. It's never just like, hey, this is the bad thing and I'm accepting it on those bad terms, right? It's bad and I like it like that. No, they always have some kind of story. There's some fascists who are very open about fascists. We're doing the bad thing, and I like that. But for the most part, usually there's a story. And think about how old those stories are and how we've heard those same stories our whole lives. Even if we know they aren't true, we've heard them. The glory of the US empire and the West. USians are indoctrinated to be soldiers of empire. And now we know, just like Klingons, not everyone's going to be a soldier on the battlefield or even a hero on the battlefield or even get to be on the battlefield or act bravely. Yet, still as a soldier, you're taught to fight for and defend the empire's myths. Klingons are transparent about this. The US is more deceitful and underhanded. Like I mentioned in the last episode, the US is more cross between Ferenginar and Cardassia. Scott, what did you think about this episode?
I thought it was a good episode, not a great episode. It was just like a little heavy-handed how beat up this crew was. And I just thought it was a little slow. Every moment we thought a mutiny was going to happen, and then it didn't happen till the end. However, I give it a 4 because we are strengthening the relationship between Jadzia and Worf. We are showing Martok's place in the war, and we are finally giving something that Worf desperately wants, which is family. So it's actually not super mythological because it just develops a couple things. But again, like season 5 episodes just happen to be better than a lot of season 1 through 3. And wait till season 6.
Normally, you give the rating, but I like to give my own rating this time.
Okay.
For me, even with the relative scoring dependent on each season, I like to say this episode for me was a 5. The reason why is just because for me, it reads differently as somebody who's watching this for the first time in comparison.
A 5?
Yes, just because the comparison to how the Klingons I've seen in the original Star Trek, Next Generation, and everything up until now, this is so different, right? Now, if I had watched everything before or watched other stuff and seen them portrayed different ways, this probably would hit different. You know, it's like somebody who you tell them, hey, watch this old episode or old movie where it kind of really innovated something, right? But then the kids are kind of like, wait, I've already seen this kind of stuff before, right? So it loses some of that impact. But for me, this is like my first watch through of that thing, right? Of like a radically different Klingon story. So I think because of that, because of the newness for me, I'm willing to forgive all those other things. And also when I say this episode was mythological, what I mean it is storytelling was mythological. It's myth-making storytelling. But as far as how important it is, as far as the myth to Star Trek DS9, yeah, that I can't speak to. But the storytelling approach, and for me, as a newer viewer of DS9, I thought it was really good. As far as being a Klingon story and showing me shades of them I've never seen before, as somebody who's only watched all of the original Trek, all of Next Generation, and then just this watch through with you of DS9.
Deep Space Nine and Discovery, season 1 and 2, develop Klingon culture in a way that's just so good.
So this is probably my first entry point into, I guess, deeper Klingon episodes to come.
Right.
But for me, this was a good introduction of that.
Yeah, I mean, once we get to the Next Generation, like Klingons are showing up. Like we've met Gowron already. Michael Dorn plays Worf's grandfather in the Undiscovered Country. I think that's what it's called. Like once the Next Generation comes, we get there, and unlike the Ferengi, there is some development in Star Trek: The Next Generation, whereas in Star Trek: The Next Generation, the Ferengi are really one dimensional.
Yes, that's the Ferengi I knew.
Yeah. But if you like Klingons, Deep Space Nine plus Worf, you're going to love it.
Scott, Can you tell us about the next episode?
Time travel?
Oh no, not again. Until then.
Bum, 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 bum.